Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Dr. Tony Live. This is a client spotlight with Dr. Tammy Huff, otherwise known as Lady Bone Doc. She is an orthopedic surgeon. She is CEO of Vigeo Orthopedics. She is an MBA Duke Fuqua School of Business MBA candidate. She'll be out of there in just a few short months. Woo, woo. I can't help but be excited. And I just wanted to make sure that if you're watching the replay, if you're coming in late, any question you have, please put it here. We can always double back. The best thing about the internet is we can double back. It's
Yeah.
Dr. Tony, your board certified physician, certified executive coach, and I am here to help you build the career, love, and lifestyle that you truly deserve. You know, the one in the back of your mind that you weren't sure you could get, you can get it. So I'm bringing people here who can help you see that it can be done. Welcome.
Welcome. I am so excited about being here.
I see we're twinning today, which is all
Yes.
good.
Yes.
She and I are on the same page. And, you know, it's funny. It wasn't like that when I met her. My Lord, I saw it on her face. She came to her consult. What would you tell them when you walked in that door just to chat about, I don't know if I'm going to work with you or not. I'm vetting people. What were you feeling?
I walked in and I literally describe it as somebody that's in the middle of this raging river. And it's just, it's all over. And you're in the water and you're treading water and you can barely keep your head above water. And then somebody has a nervous stutter to pull you out. It's like pushing your head down the water. That's what I felt like. I literally felt like I was drowning with someone on my head pushing me down, which is just insane if I think about it now.
Let's frame this a little bit because some of my viewers are not even in the healthcare field. They are professional women. They are on their way. We really want to have that younger audience hear us and not think it's just so far away. The things we're talking about today, they're applicable to every stage of your development, your career. And I want you to really listen and not think, oh, that doesn't apply to me. It probably could be you. So listen in, right? When you say somebody was pushing you down under the water, you're drowning, and frankly, she can swim, okay? You know what I mean? This lady is brilliant. Tell them a little bit about just the years of training you've already had at this point.
So when I came to you, I was already in my second job after training. So
Mhm.
for me and for orthopedic surgeons or for medicine in general, you do 4 years of college. Then you do,
Yeah.
you do 4 years of college. Then you do 4 years of medical school. Then for orthopedics, we do an additional 5 years of orthopedic training. And I had already done 2 years in a practice down in Southeast Georgia. And I left that practice to come home to my own home practice, to my home city to practice and work with the people that I grew up with. So at that point, I had, 13 years of school. Yeah, 13 years of preparation and had been practicing for going on 3 years, almost 4 years when I spoke to you. And it wasn't like I wasn't working. I mean, I was operating full time, um, also doing outreach in the community and things. I was the medical director of one of my areas. I also had another program going on. On average, I was getting to work at like 6 a.m. and many nights staying there to 8 and 9 o'clock at night. That was not uncommon. I was coming in on the weekends. It's just, yes, my volume was phenomenal and things were going very well on the outside, but on the inside, I was absolutely falling apart. Like I was a mess. And when I came in, I actually asked, how can I be more productive? As if it was a problem for me.
At least I'm putting this up here for all my high achievers. I need y'all, when you watch this live, when you watch this on replay, go ahead and stand up and say, me too. Go on and say, I was the high achiever looking for the outside validation. I wanted to feel productive. You end up stacking your own plate. You volunteer yourself into a corner. Talk to me a little bit about that day you wake up and you're drowning. Do you remember the question you asked me when you came for your consult? I remember it.
I know I was asking about productivity, like how could I get more out? I had no acknowledgement that maybe I need to sit my happy tail down
She
and
didn't.
take stuff off instead of putting. I was like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do more? It seems like everybody around me is doing more. Why can't I do more? I should be able to do more. I mean, I'm just as good as them. I can do more. Why am I the only one that seems like is struggling and drowning, you know?
That's exactly it. She was drowning. Look, I'm getting a me too. It's another doctor, another doctor. She's phenomenal. She's a high achiever. She's a physician. She's an independent business owner, another CEO. So I already know Dr. Latasha is no joke. And she's like, yeah, me too, girl. We are drowning. We've got all these responsibilities and passion. You're so passionate about everything. The question she came in asking me is, how can I work on my time management? How can there's just not enough hours in the day. I need y'all to just chime in and tell the truth. How many times have you thought, man, if I could just have 3 or 4 more hours every day, I'll be all right. But you're not getting enough sleep. How many of you have done this? All of us.
All of us. Absolutely.
All of us. Because she was feeling so pressured and stressed, um, what was the feedback around you? Because these folks are slick. You're drowning. You're trying to get the help you need, but what are they doing?
I mean, if anything, they were actually cutting my help. So for me, I had fought so hard to finally get a PA, and I was so excited. I mean, my volumes were up. It was great. And then my PA went out on maternity leave, and they had 6 months of notice. She actually operated to the day before she went into labor. So she had plenty of notice. They had plenty of notice. So I lost her, or that she went and had a beautiful, just adorable little baby, but didn't have her. And then also the one administrative assistant I had was taken away. It seemed like every time I trained someone up, they were gone. So instead of you're working hard, you're trying to grow, and instead of getting the support you need, it's being taken away from you. So I think what you put on the screen is so true, that it was extremely toxic. And instead of realizing how toxic that environment was, I was internalizing it as, what's wrong with me? Why can't I succeed in this environment?
You said something. I'm actually going to create a little flag for them, because when we're in toxic environments, here's what I've seen as a coach. And sometimes I'm trying to also inform the people watching, because they're us just one step behind, or maybe just one step in the right direction, and they'll be out of there if they can see it. I'm going to put a term on the screen, because I feel that this is really what they prey on in corporate.
Yeah.
Internalized capitalism. They know it. They can't wait to get a workhorse in here so they can keep working you to death, doing twice as much for the lowest they can invest, not just in you, but in your team and all of that, even though it would be much easier to invest in the lower cost folk. When she said it, when you show you can handle it, they want you to do it all the time with a smile, with no help. Sis, can I get an amen? Look, I know her personally, so I already know, right? And what do you want to say to our viewer? Nicole, she works in pharmaceuticals. I happen to know, it's funny. I love my viewers. I know them. She's my faithful followers. And she's saying sometimes it's hard to see. What does that, looking back, what is that toxic environment? You've got somebody who doesn't know what we know now. They're grinding. What do you want to say about that toxic environment? What would you say are red flags looking back?
So I would say places that don't respect your boundaries is a huge red flag. Um, because many times, especially when you're young women, we're trying to climb that corporate ladder, or we're trying to just be Miss Fix It, Miss Do It all, When you're trying to do that, you sometimes don't listen to that voice in your head that's like, because this was a job I actually had already turned down 2 or 3 years ago before I had done it. So I think when we're in toxic environments, we we rationalize while we're there and all the good things that, oh, this is bringing to my life. And then we downplay how this is destroying the things that really matter. How is it affecting your interpersonal relationships? How's it affecting your health? Part of my wake up call was I actually internalized stress into like a physical reaction. So my blood pressure went crazy. And I am a person that works out and all those things. So I'm eating right and working out, and my blood pressure is off the charts. It just didn't make any sense.
Mm,
So when you're thinking of a toxic environment, I'll say, number one, if that voice in your head's like, is something wrong? You'll listen to yourself and not be afraid of listening to yourself. Two, don't believe the hype when they try to push you to do more and more. If they constantly, no, because they'll sugarcoat that boundary stepping over. So you have your little boundary, like, I am not going to work any more than I thought a boundary was working 60 hours a week. That is insane. Next thing I know, I'm back in residency. That's not okay. So just all those things are like, they'll just keep pushing you and pushing you and pushing you. And before you
right.
know it, you're like, this is not the right place for me. So be okay with listening to that voice.
I was speaking with day one guest, Dr. Lauren Powell, and one of her gifts is that her intuition is really good, and she started to pull back. She's pregnant, about to literally have a baby right now. She was about to give birth before she came, but she refused. She wanted to be here. She said, "Oh no, I want to come. I'm going to keep this baby in." But she said the jobs were coming fast and furious, and she actually stepped in, said yes, and then changed her mind because she said, "You know what? I don't know what motherhood's like yet. I'll get back to you." You don't believe the hype that you have to. Her husband said, "You don't have to. You don't have to. You're perfectly capable of making money without all of this going on. You went to school. When you went to school all your life, didn't you have a different vision for your life?" All right now. So we have internalized capitalism. We've talked about toxic work environments. Here's the truth. Before I even ask you the next question, isn't this what's really going on?
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely. Because you have, it's funny. I eventually stepped away from the job when I woke up from, and I took the took the red pill. Yeah, the other pill, I took it.
We did some CPR and got her breathing again, pulled her out of the water,
Yeah, and I stepped back and,
Yeah.
I again, many times, especially if we're in that academic setting, if we're high achievers, yeah, we want somebody to pat us on the back and say, you did a great job. But again, people use that need for external validation. And they use that need to be felt like you're the good person, you're the good girl, you're the one that actually gets things done. You're our go-to, our star, to make you feel like you have to do additional things. A very not PC term that we use a lot of times is only thing you have to do is stay Black and die. So you
And
have to
maybe take some taxes, but
pay
yeah,
some
that's it.
taxes. So there's not a lot of things in life we have to do. We really don't have to do those things.
I didn't
So
go to school. At this point, you're practically bumping up on 20 years. You didn't invest time and energy so that you can now be somebody's plaything or someone to devalue your expertise is really what I see quite a bit. And I know we're not even going to go into imposter. We're just going to say the symptoms of the disease are I'm rationalizing. I'm out here trying to please others instead of take care of my own health and listen to my own intuition. I'm out here trying to be productive when I'm actually running circles around my colleagues. They're chilling.
but the key part of that is too, it's not just in your work environment. That can spill over into your personal life. And when that does, that's where it gets kind of touchy, because many times this can be your family, your friends that are used to being you being the one that's always pushing and fixing it, whether it be fixing it, physically fixing it with your own hands and things, and being the one there for everyone else, or financially or
Yep.
otherwise. It just bleeds that need to be valued, kind of, or thinking that you need to be valued by others in a certain way, bleeds into everything else.
One of the things that, I spend a lot of time on after coaching. My TEDx is about martyr mindset, how to get out of this way of thinking. Let's just be honest. The number one, there's two things that put you at risk for being a martyr. And I actually didn't mention this in any other broadcast. It was one, that you are a minority, you're female. Ding, ding, ding. You're already the first generation person maybe to do what you're doing at this time. The level of education you're achieving different higher levels, and it's an unknown territory. And you're carrying into those spaces all of this behavior and thinking that I got to do for everybody else. And it's to your detriment. You're sacrificing with no end to the story. There aren't any boundaries. What boundaries? You mentioned boundaries like you had any. Honey, there weren't any. That's why you were drowning.
You can't do it all. You try to, but you can't.
You
And
can't be
the
Miss
sooner
Fix-It.
you come to terms with that, the better.
You said Miss Fix-It. That was actually that was like day 3 of my challenge last year. We're doing coaching week right now. Today's conversation inside of our group is actually plan your future and protect your peace. This is what we're speaking about. We want to make sure everybody here is hearing from a rock star, a winner, somebody who is in one of the most highest paid professions in medicine. Orthopedic surgery, look it up, okay? This is not about money, and that's important for someone to hear, is that you're at risk, and none of that saves you.
Yeah. I mean, what good is all that and all that quote unquote success and money when you don't have your health, when you don't have your mental health, your physical health, if your relationships are all like in tatters everywhere because you can't nourish those? What good is that? You know?
Let's talk a little bit about confronting the elephant in the room. You're coming in with all these things. We start taking things off your plate, getting you some relief. You're starting to feel better. And now it's time to do the real work of how we got ourselves in this hole. We have a tendency to start getting back into those old habits in new spaces because it's how you've been thinking all your life. Talk to them about some of our sticky times, trying to get you to change the way you were approaching your relationships, your organizations you're volunteering for, and the new jobs that you were looking at.
Yeah. So, gosh, yes, this has definitely been something I still work on. Um, One of the really important things for me was identifying what mattered. Like, what is my core values? Like, what number one is I need to stay peaceful. I can't have stress. So, understanding that protecting my peace is number one, whether or not I'm in a relationship or whether I am a job or opportunity. If I don't feel peace at that, then no. And then part of that is the intuition thing, is to really listen to myself. If I get a bad feeling about a situation now, I don't even entertain it anymore, because every time I've not listened to myself, to that voice, to God, to whatever higher being, every
Yeah.
time I go against that gut, I have lived to regret it in a serious fashion. Um, Also, too, I've kind of made up my own checklist, for lack of a better word, of things that I look at. So when I assess a situation and somebody's like, "Oh, I have this terrific opportunity for you," and I'm like,
No, no, no. Let's back up a step. There was a period of this is time passing. She's talking from a different place, people.
"Oh,
I'm
it's a totally different."
I have several coaches. Every coach should have several. If your coach doesn't have several, there's a problem. One of mine is an Asian guy who's in his 60s, and he does big work out in LA with, mega stars and stuff. And he said, there comes a day when you're the historian, because they forget you're just there to help keep them on track, but you're also there as the historian. That mindset shift was not easy. It wasn't easy. You're now evolved and it's easy. She wasn't hearing me in the beginning. Being strong and firm and making those decisions about assessing what matters to you was one part, but then implementing the new way of thinking and way of living, that was a process. Tell them what your number one tip is in that process. It's not easy.
It's not.
You gotta stay open, right?
I was gonna say it's open. I have so many tips for that because
I know, but that's you
you
were.
have to be
Think
open
about
to
this. Let's
hearing.
frame this. I have
Yeah.
a lot of perfectionists.
Mhm.
Anybody who's a perfectionist who likes it, you're a surgeon. We want you to be that type of thinker. We want you with your checklist, okay? But it's time for a new one that maybe is reframing how you do things now, right?
Right.
We're rigid in our thinking. It's not easy to break the mold and build something better.
I think, it's funny that you bring this up. So I do some mentoring, and I think I'm getting more towards what you're getting at now. Is I do a good bit of mentoring. And I have noticed that as I evolve, I can see my mentees a little bit differently and see a lot of things a lot differently. And I think before somebody you can really help them or even help yourself, you have to acknowledge that there's a problem. Um, but one of the things, and I am very, I feel very strongly about this, and I've seen it in myself, that big shift didn't really happen until I acknowledged, okay, there's been all these problems around me. Okay, I had this other problem. I had this other job problem. I feel constantly I'm feeling like I'm overworked and exploited and all this other things. What's the common denominator? And then you realize it's me, but not me in your traditional think of there like you being something wrong with you.
Yes.
It's the thought that, okay, maybe I'm taking on too much. Maybe I'm reaching and going into spaces I have no business being. These people don't align with my best interests, my goals, my vision of who I should be, my mission. They have nothing there. We are not the same. There's different levels to people, and these are not the right people I should be aligning myself with. So for me, it was that acknowledgement that there are certain spaces I have no business being in. And every time I go against that, I live to regret it. So I think it's that realization and that self-assessment that I have a tendency to put too much on myself. Now, before I do anything, I let about 24 hours pass before I even respond to people because I know me. I have to stop and say, okay, does this align? Does this thing? So if you don't understand yourself, if you don't understand your own strengths, your own weaknesses, your own need for self-validation and how people can manipulate those things from you, then can you really move forward with the next phase of your life?
No. One thing that when you were speaking came to mind is comfort zones. Sometimes, and I'm just gonna tell you, if you're not in the medical profession and you're still an anal retentive perfectionist, like so many of my clientele happen to be, raise your hand, Dr. Tony, if you're recovering for once you're a perfectionist, it's a lifelong reminder checklist, checking yourself situation. Okay. Knowing why you do things was day two. Knowing why we're digging in or not should be clear to you before we move. Comfort zones are a trick, a trap. They leave that old lady who wants to save everybody, the old version of you. Talk to me a little bit about the danger of getting too comfortable when we're trying to grow.
Growth is scary. Growth is so scary. I actually have I have a little sticky note. So as we went through the whole process of everything, I made my little affirmations and stuck them in different places. And to this day, and I probably put the sticky note up at least a year ago. I want to say almost 2 years ago, protecting my peace and doing one thing that scares me every day. Because I I am a very structured person. I'm a planner. That is who I am. I don't like surprises. If you ask anybody that is a surgeon, an engineer, anybody that's kind of technical, we don't like surprises. It
I'm
does
married
not.
to him.
Yeah, we don't like it. It makes our nerves bad. It makes me anxious. I get hives. I don't like it. So, and we always are like, oh my goodness, it's going to be bad. But one of the things for me has been is like moving out my comfort zone. So again, I stepped away from my job, a very well-paying job. I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, deuces, I can't do this anymore. Um,
I don't
and
want to. How about
I,
that?
I don't want to. Could I? Yes. Was it good for us? Good for me? Was it the right place for me? No. but stepping into that and owning it and saying, hey, this is great. It's been the best opportunity of my life. I mean, I would have never been able to go to an MBA program. I would have never been able to start different ventures and things like that. So I, just because something is outside your comfort zone and you feel that fear, own it. It's okay. Be I am a little, I had to pitch yesterday a new business venture. And I was going back and forth. Should I do it? Should I not do it? And I was like, no, staying in the comfort zone will not allow me to move to the next level. So pull it together, put your big girl panties on, and get out there and do it. And I felt afterwards, it was not, it couldn't have been it couldn't have gone any better. And it's pushing me to that next thing. So it's normal to have a little trepidation or a little fear of the unknown. But if you don't get out that comfort zone, I know it sounds cliche, but the comfort zone, it's almost like a prison. It's almost, that's no growth happens in there. It's like a fence that you can't, like it's called a comfort zone for a reason. They're zoning you in. You can't grow. You can't be the person you want to be if you're stuck in that and you're fearful of growing past it.
There comes a day where all the clients, I just hand you the mic and I'm just here to, facilitate, the conversation. And I don't do anything. I did my job. These are smart, capable people who want to win. Look, I'm an engineer and I do not like surprises. My husband is the same way. He's an IT guy. I mean, you got to know your audience, and I know. But I also like what Dr. Latosha's saying. She's like, look, when God says go, you go. When he says stay, you stay. And that intuition underneath all of that, you have to listen. You were put here for a purpose. And a lot of times we get distracted by titles. We get distracted by kudos. Atta girl, we can't do without you. You're the best, right? But that might not be on mission for us at this phase of our lives. Look, get it, girl. So proud of you. I know that's right. We are.
You hit on something. I just want to jump in because it's so important. And I'm trying to remember where I'm going to steal the phrase from somebody, but it's so important because I think one of your young ladies just posted it about it. Is there really is a price to pay for staying in the wrong place for too long?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
That I think too often, and I didn't realize the price I was paying for not moving out of my comfort zone. So yes, you want to break out, but don't stay. Like once it's time, once God has spoken to you, once you have had your moment, you're like, okay, I got to get out of here. Make your escape plan and get out, because there really is, whether it's a negative and toxic relationship, with a significant other, if it's an issue at work, if it's problems, even being a part of the wrong organization, there really is a price to pay. And that price is our peace. That price is time, just time, the mental anguish, your opportunity cost where you could be doing something that you really enjoy, that you're passionate about. So I think we underestimate too much. When we talk about our comfort zone, we oftentimes underestimate the cost that we pay for staying in there.
I used to listen to you, and y'all, surgeons, they like to be right. They're really, really smart, and they'll cut you. So you have to be, you have to stand back, take a few steps back, make sure they can't get to you when you say, but are you sure? So you double down when you don't know. You double down on what you know from the past. And when it's time to transition over, sometimes people wait until it gets highly uncomfortable and they come to me. What would you say to somebody now? I call it the agony of indecision, right? The agony of indecision and staying. What would you say to them about, no, you need to ask for help. You need somebody to come through. Don't wait.
We always wait too long to actually ask for help. Just being honest. I work with a good number of medical students and residents, and that's the thing. Everybody wants to wait until badness has happened. So when you start feeling things going left, when you're starting to have more issues at work or at home, when you realize that career's not really progressing like I want it to, I'm not really feeling appreciated in this space, this person is not helpful to me. When you start feeling those things, it's time to ask for help. So whether that's help as a coach, which is awesome, and a therapist, which is even awesome, it's just as awesome.
Speak the truth, though.
No,
That was not an
speak
easy
truth.
push.
And finding the right therapist, that's a whole nother
No,
talk.
it's important we speak on this. Listen, when people come to me because I have so much training, I oftentimes can see I've sent people to psychiatry to get medication because they were in bad shape. Thank God they listened to me, a couple clients, and some people I've had to just do interventions. And that's the blessing of having so much training. I can see what's just okay, we can walk with your decision not to go. And then there's times I have to intervene as a caregiver worried about your well-being, your health. Okay. So I let her not go for a long time because she wasn't ready. But one day she realized, you know what do I have to gain? You know what? Let me go on over here and check this out. And she did the work and she found some help that she wanted to engage in. But we should do all of these things as soon as it occurs to us if we can.
And this all ties back is we're so busy in these toxic environments. And what makes them even more toxic is it keeps you busy with that, dealing with that toxicity, putting out fires left and right, that you don't have the time to stop and think about the future, and to stop and think about planning and thinking about your health. And as women, real talk, we do not stay young forever. These little ovaries here are not going to hang out forever. So you really have to take those steps to. So if you're in this toxic place, whether it's a
No.
toxic job, toxic relationship, you don't ever have time to think about those things.
She,
It is. I real talk. When I started with Dr. Tony, I was very far over 30. So
and she was still not doing the things.
but those are the things. But again, because when you're in a toxic situation, a
Right,
toxic workspace
right.
relationship, you're just trying to survive day to day. You don't ever stop to think, oh, I got a plan for the year. I have to plan for 5 years. I need a 10-year plan. I'm just trying. Literally, I was at the point where I was like, let me just get to the next day and prepare for my cases, prepare to make my chart, make sure all my charts are done. I wasn't thinking about, oh wow, I really want to have kids at one point. Um, but who am I? Hey, I don't even have time to do anything. So who is this person? This magical way I'm gonna have kids? Like, how is this even gonna happen? So I think we don't talk a lot about the toll that toxic jobs, toxic and other toxicity puts on our personal life and our interpersonal relationships. So
I mentioned transitions on the screen because we can't really make them when we're drowning. We can't think about what we're going to have after we get out of the ocean if we are being sucked in by the current. So, what she's saying is 100% true. And I have to peel the onion layers back at a pace that fits the client. And yes, I get sticky with y'all because you told me it was urgent, but then you tell me it can wait. I'm like, oh no, ma'am.
no, so where she's being very nice because I didn't want to talk about any of it. And every time we met, it was like, so what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Just fucking
Incremental nudging, incremental nudging, accountability. Let's just shift over there to accountability because a lot of times we don't realize that when we were in training or in school and we had a tractor on, and I call it the conveyor belt of your training and education, when they spit you out into the world, they love that you don't know what's going on and they can manipulate you. I used to work in corporate America before going into medicine, which is also corporate, right? And I went in knowing I wanted to be a business owner like Dr. Huff, right? She knew, she was like, look, I'm gonna get my own thing going. I'm just gonna get through this part. We don't have any accountability out here winging it. We don't have any mentors the way we used to.
and it's more than that too.
Yeah, it is.
The accountability part is so true because the way we are a product of the people we grow up around the people that we train around. So many times all the people around us that are in that same trap, that are in that same struggle. So there it turns, instead of getting the support to get out and the accountability to move beyond, they're struggling just like you. So they don't understand that there's a problem. And then many times that can keep you trapped, because if they do see the problem, they start complaining and they're like, and it just ends up turning into this negativity cycle. And before you know it, you're like, all right, there's nothing but negatives around here. I want to break free, but there's no one who can, I don't have anybody there. So I think for me, especially even now, but especially early on, for you, you were that person that I know I could run to and like share those ideas. Like, we are free. We're gonna, like, I want to get out of this cycle. Like, you were the person that I could come to with those ideas, with those, that vision, and that person that will hold me accountable to the plan that we agreed to. I think that's really, really important to have, because you are in these silos. You're with these people who are all being pushed in the same direction. And you're here trying to break out, trying to be free, and nobody else around you is about that life. And sadly, many people, whether it be in your job or in your home life, benefit from you staying in that same track.
Oh, sister,
So
listen, let's talk about that community that you're surrounding yourself with now. That's a sticky thing that we have to work on over time. You're trying to figure out how to deal with your first degree relatives half the dang on time. You're evolving as a person. Your ideas are taking shape. You're feeling good about yourself. And then you go to a family dinner and you're like, really? You see what I'm saying? Like, it happens to everybody I know. It's not like this is unique. You know, you're trying to say, well, that was before. Now I have new things I want to do with my time and energy. You've got to get a community around you. And it starts with maybe one or two people who see and hear what you're building and support that.
exactly, because that's the thing. Many times your family, they don't mean anything negative about it.
They don't.
I have two of the most supportive parents on planet Earth.
You do.
However, they're used to you being a certain way.
The old you.
They're used to you, whether your family, friends, everyone's used to this version of you that that is struggling, is kind of frazzled, and is all over they're used to that. So, and they're also used to someone that has this set of income, that that has all these other things. So when you start breaking from that mold, it's nice to have somebody, a community there that's to support you as you go through that process.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been wanting to do as part of the just to kind of ameliorate the pain of the pandemic and the isolation that Lauren talked about. Everybody's talked about the isolation that comes with your path. You know, a lot of times you're on your own, you spend a lot of time and a lot of hours digging in to just learn your craft, to do the work. And that doesn't stop just because you kind of get to this next phase. When you're trying to transition and redefine your career,
Yeah.
we're talking about this is like a process, a journey. You're trying to find your way, find people, get prepared, figure out what fits. One of the benefits of coaching that I heard from you is, like, when it was time to transition to grad school, you were like, wait, I have some tools I can use to make this easier, because it's not easy. Talk about this journey to the next phase where you're going into new spaces, doing new things.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey. So it was a journey from being an employed physician to transitioning to my own model with Vigeo Orthopedics, being a consultant orthopedic surgeon, but also consulting to corporations and community groups and things like that. So it was that transition, and then being myself, I decided, let's do business school along with that.
You know,
Let's get that MBA that you've been wanting to get done. Yeah, that's all. If anybody ever wants to talk about that, that's a whole nother ball of wax. But it was great because at that point, I could understand, like, for instance, I have been challenged. I've had some amazing groups and some amazing courses. But Dr. Tony is smiling over there because I had a very challenging group in business school recently. And the skill set that I learned through working with her through the transition from the job to where I am now and being a business owner and things, I was able to identify what I was working with and the situation that I was working with and some of the interests that these individuals had. And it really helped me work through that process.
Yeah.
And the understanding that, yes, okay, I may be stuck with you for now, but I will be transitioning out of this quickly. And now I know when I was forming that literally the next month, when I was forming my own teams and now forming some new teams and bringing on new business partnerships and things, I know what I cannot work with and what I can, and building up the systems to help me have the infrastructure that I need. So, we are all, I would guess that everybody that's on this and that's watching this later, we're professionals, most of us, the vast majority of us are. So, we're used to handling all these complex things. But one of the things, and we all have our little specialties that we're good at. But the problem is we can't be good at everything. You have to have a checklist. You have to have the right people, or at least a person that can help guide you to the right place. So Dr. Tony has kind of been that for me on so many fronts.
Yeah, it's funny, grad school, one thing I want to give is a cautionary tale, and then I want to transition back to something you said. Cautionary tale, I have people come to me all the time with a list of certifications, certificates, next things, letters behind their name all the way across the page. And I always have to try to get them to be open again and hear me out. Let's do this assessment deep dive first, because those things don't oftentimes bring the result that you're looking for. Some of it is you seeking that dangerous outside validation. What would you say to the person who's trying to make a decision?
No, I think you need to know the right reason that you're doing it. And that's one thing, because we talked about it a good bit before I did it. And that was one of the first things you asked me was, well, are you really doing this? Are you sure you need this? Are you doing it just for the degree, or are you doing it as part of a set? So for me, I've always loved business. I probably would have, actually not probably, I tried to take business classes all the way through undergrad and wasn't allowed to for a variety of different reasons. But for me, it was something that I was passionate about, and it kind of fit into what I wanted. I like getting into the numbers of things. I like understanding that world. I didn't like myself when I was going through some of the strategy courses and things that I was going through, but it's been an amazing experience. But I would definitely, especially if you're somebody that's deep into your career. So if you're a physician, or if you're an engineer, or someone that's had extensive training and you're looking to pivot, it's a great idea to maybe do a small class here or get with a coach for something. But before you start taking on a big project like an MBA, make sure you're ready for that, because that was a big challenge for me early on. We talk a lot about, even now, I would like to say time allocation instead of management.
Absolutely.
Like how much realistically time do you need to get X, Y, and Z done? So that's kind of what I've definitely shifted more to that than to time management. It's more of like, how do I allocate the limited number of hours I have in a day, and how do I prioritize those things? Because those priorities have drastically changed.
Let's talk exactly. Everything she said is 100% why I recommend that transition. My specialty is actually career transitions. And it's because there's skills that I have to help refine in you. I give you 50 pages of reports if you work with me one-on-one. It's not a game. It's not like it's school. A lot of it is me training up your brain. Look, I even have my if you take my course, she has my course as well, Sort of Excellence. It's a 70-page guide. You're going to be using this. This is school. Okay. We're not playing games. I'm a coach and a consultant. I want to make sure that you have the skill set to refer back. You refer back pretty
No,
much.
I'm sitting here laughing because I can see, actually have my original one for when we first started.
Yes.
That has printouts before that one. So yes, they're right over in here. I was looking to see if I could grab it, but I think I have it under something.
Working with a coach is all about getting the skills you need for what we're doing next, and making sure that the things you're doing are going to edify your life and your projects, and put it on a timeline. I'm not here to change your mind. I'm here to make sure that you're successful in your endeavor. And so making sure that we're investing our resources of time, money, and energy in the right things at the right time for the goal that you've set for yourself so that the result is something that we can get excited about. So, people might think coaching something else, but I feel like you're doing a really good job of walking them through the journey of all the things we do, dealing with toxic spaces and people, trying to make decisions with the right frame of mind, etc.
Absolutely. And you're like the sounding board, if when I have one of my kind of brilliant ideas that happen late at night or whatever, like, oh, let's do this, let's do that. You are I think it's great to have somebody that can say, yes, this is great. Or maybe we need to put this on the shelf for a little while. And is this aligned with what our focus is for this season of our lives?
And building that out, when everybody who came on was like, oh man, when I saw my career projection, when you work with me one-on-one, we do a lot of good deep work. I got certified for a reason. It's not like just me asking you a bunch of questions. There's also some tools we can use to get that thing in your heart out on paper in black and white, because all of y'all need that.
Yeah.
It's in the back of your head, you got ideas, but that's not the same thing. Putting it on a timeline, adjusting it every quarter. Like, we have a whole system for that. So working with a coach, investing in yourself. A lot of people balk at investing in themselves because it's just not what we were taught. It's not what we were used to. And Carla talked about that as a first generation American from an immigrant family. She was like, woo. First, I was like, I don't know, y'all crazy. She said, but I mean, you have a multi-million-dollar business. You're going to need help when it's time to grow and evolve your business and your revenue. Everything has to shift again. You have to build a team. They're relying on you to know what to do and communicate clearly. These are skills.
Yeah. And the thing is people are like, oh, I could do this, I could do that. Yeah. It's going to take you 10 years to do that. Okay. If you do it by yourself. Okay.
Ooh, please tell them.
Do you want to sit around like beating your head up against the wall on the struggle bus when you could have somebody that's been there, done that? Or if they don't do that, they can push you in the right direction. Why? Why do you want to put yourself through that? Your time is money. Your time, you need, if you haven't already, calculate your own rate, what your time is worth. And
They
think
don't know how
about
to
it.
do that. That's why they come to me. I always make y'all do it, and you're shocked and shocked and shocked again.
But when you think about it like that, imagine if you're capturing, especially if you have a venture, something that you're interested in, if you want to be a founder or something like that, 10 years is a lot of money. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of money. And how many
Opportunity cost, sis. You mentioned it.
opportunity costs, and yeah, it's important. So
It's math. I think sometimes we get emotional, especially if we're trying to do something new. The emotions and anxiety start to rise to the surface instead of our concrete. We don't necessarily get out a piece of paper and start doing math, right? So we're going on emotion. We're going on how it makes us heart rate, heart race. We go on other things, especially if we're not surrounded by the right people. So I just want to make sure they hear you loud and clear. If you were to just say, what is the value of the transformation in your life today after investing and having a coach, what would you say?
a lot. So I would not have this. So I just recently got engaged. So I will just say that there is, and that, so I laugh, but realistically, it's invaluable. There's no way I would have made the investment, taken the time to get my life together so I could be the right person and find the right person and evaluate the right person without this. So I laugh about it, but really, like, I don't know if I would be engaged because I was so focused in that negative mindset. So, gosh, coaching is invaluable. That's what I can say.
Amen, sister. Relationship wise, what she's saying is 100% true. I wrote an algorithm to get a husband because I'm that proactive. Once I did all my assessments, I figured out how to reverse engineer getting what I wanted. But a lot of it is the preparation we do before. And that's what I'm really wanting to implore younger people who are listening, or people who are trying to make that move of, okay, I've ended a relationship, or I've gotten divorced, which is what I hear a lot of. I'm a mother now, things like that. We've got to set the tone for a good foundation And that's what I do. I help you get your foundation based on what matters to you so that when you present yourself in that pitch to the business, the multi-million dollar offer opportunity, which is really what she's talking about, y'all. This is not me. This is real, the real deal, you know. You are in there prepared, you know what you're doing, and you know how to interact with the different types of people that you're going to encounter, because some of the strangest people have money, so you have to learn how to talk to them too. In terms of investors and things. And when we're talking about our families, how are we going to deal with that? Now you're this millionaire and you never dealt with some of the issues in your communication with them. You want to get in this new relationship, he needs to hear from you clearly. What does that look like? What's I don't want to say what are your expectations, but how we present ourselves in those situations make a difference, especially since people may ask you a question and you're not able to really tell them what the vision is for the future. They don't know what they're signing up for. Now you can.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that was something that was so important for me was again taking the time to step back and get clear about who I am and what I want and the vision of what I want in different aspects of my life. So once I was clear on what that vision of what I wanted, I could verbalize it and seek it from my partner. So what I thought was being clear was not clear. He saw somebody that was all over the place, that was perpetually stressed out, perpetually upset about something or another, and bringing that toxicity into our safe space. So then when I was able to say, okay, all right, I got my life together over here, we're getting the life together over here. And then I could come back to the table with, okay, so I'm out of, yeah, you get out of your toxic environment and you realize again what's healthy. And what's healthy is your relationship automatically gets healthier because you're not bringing the toxic stuff into it anymore. You realize that it might have been you that was bringing a lot of that in there, not that the other and the other person is responding back to the negativity that you're bringing and that energy that you're bringing into the relationship. So for me, for the full transparency, I feel like that was a big part of it for me was that I had so much going on that was like, okay. And then the beautiful part is when you finally do that, then you can come back with your boundaries and you can come back with your expectations and you can come back and discuss the future vision and what your mission is and find someone that is on mission, that understands what you want, and then you can build something together. We talk a lot about legacy and having a future together. And once you have to do some self-work before you're ready to build that legacy, to build that future plan with someone else.
Preach, sister. All I can tell you is there's always going to be people watching, and I want to make sure we just drop a little hint that you're strong, you're smart, you know who you are. You presenting that to the world is different. What they hear and what you are articulating may not necessarily get you where you want to go, because a lot of times we're just coming at it from our perspective and not necessarily communicating in a way that they can receive it. So I train you on all that 30-page report because it's really important as you pivot through life and make your moves. We'll touch on motherhood really quickly because so many women are busy. What I find is that when we assess them, they've got an amazing life, work, whatever, here, but all this other stuff is being neglected. Motherhood tends to get on the back burner for my very high achievers. Talk to me about your advice to people who are young professionals and doing something about that.
Freeze your eggs. I think it's so do it sooner rather than later.
Yes.
For me, I always in my again in my planning life or my grand scheme of things, I had this vision that I would have that I was going to get married probably in residency, or
Mhm.
I would definitely find the right person in medical school, and then we would date or something. And I never really wanted to get pregnant in residency, but if I did, it would be towards the end. And then when I got into fellowship, I would do my fellowship or whatever, and then I would then have these kids, and then but I'll be starting my new practice, and it'll be great, and I'll be a mom. I should have listened to my mama who said when I graduated from residency was like, so when are you gonna freeze your eggs? And I can't say that. I mean, my mother actually brought it up to me. And from that time, it was goodness, it was almost 6 years after I did that to actually, yeah, no, yeah, 5, 6 years before I finally did it. And it just, I think that's so, again, you have to take care of yourself first. You have to understand, because this all ties back. It doesn't sound like it ties back, but it really does. You have to take care of yourself first. You have to make sure you're clear on your future goals, on whether or not you want to be a mom, whether or not you want to be a wife. You need to be clear on that goal so you can plan accordingly. So again, I was so busy doing everything else and taking care of everybody else that went on the back burner. Luckily, prayerfully, the process went very well and I have some eggs, but a lot of times, but honestly, there are a lot of people that when they finally get everything together and they're ready to have kids and they're ready to make that step, that none of that's available. They miss that door is closed.
Absolutely. And I want to shout out some of my women who might have had a first relationship years ago. They have children that are kind of grown and gone. They don't necessarily always think that this is going to apply to them. But I find that when they find Mr. Right, sometimes you decide you do want to do something. So if you have the means, if you have the ability, earlier is better. It falls off a cliff after 30, the fertility options you have, and also the quality of your eggs. Raise your hand if you have had this problem and still don't have any children. Do you see any babies here? Okay. So I'm here imploring you to know what's in your heart, follow it, reach out, ask for help early. Any other things you want to make sure these folks hear from your mouth?
And again, so exactly everything she said. And also, too, if you identify, the sooner you identify what's important to you, you can add that to what you look for in a job, what you look for in a future opportunity. Because if you knew, so for instance, one of my good friends went through the whole process and she knew she wanted to do that. So she looked for a job that actually their insurance covered it.
That's rare. It's
So
super rare to get any kind of support. It depends on the job and you can read the fine print, but you can't investigate clearly. Even maternity policies are something you need to ask about when you have certain jobs. You know what I'm talking about because surgery is a trip.
it is, and many times, I mean, it's a lot better than it was, but I mean, none of those things were even written into my contract. My last two contracts had nothing, no time for maternity leave. None of that was in there.
That's it. I want you guys to make sure you hear from me. I'm inviting everyone because I'm only going to open our community. We actually have a wonderful community of professional women who are able to have these conversations. And trust me, I know who to put together and sit them down at the table and they forget I'm even there. Okay. SoarAlliance.com is our community that we're building. Become a Soar Alliance Insider. Sign up for our wait list. This is only going to open probably once a year. Like that's how serious I am. We might let you in if you're part of our, you come in on a workshop or something. Well, we might get you in the back door, but we really want to have a space, a place for these conversations, for these tough decisions that you have to make. But it's also that we can build a legacy. It's bigger than us. All of us have so much capacity and purpose in this life. Our job is to go out here to whom much is given, much is required. We're going to go out here and serve in a much bigger way and leave buildings and legacy and access. Her mission is for people to have more access to musculoskeletal care in rural communities and urban communities where for some reason they're just not getting what they need. We want to educate you. We want to make sure that you're empowered. That's a big mission. And there's a lot of barriers to care right now. But if we work together, if I bring some of y'all together, you probably could get a room of my doggone clients together and build it as a team. So come join us. Make sure that you're a part of that opportunity because I don't want you out there isolated and by yourself.
It's a bad place to be. You definitely don't want
And we have bad ideas and the negative voices come in. She spoke about her
it.
affirmations. Of course, I wrote a book on affirmations and all my clients get a copy, but we just want to encourage you. We're here today to make sure that you can see the light and know that there's a path forward for you and it's never too late. Now is a great time. Thank you, Dr. Huff, for joining us today. Dr. Tony signing off. Please join us in my group, VIP Winner Circle, drtonymdvip.com. If you have any questions, leave them here. Let's see if anybody has any farewell. Look, that price is huge. I'll tell you. We don't want to wait. We want you to invest in yourself now and get the answers that you need so you can make the next right step. Saying thank you. Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you so much, Dr. Huff.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.